Thor in the God of War reboot is one of the most tragically depressing and interesting characters I've seen in recent memory. He's a character that stands out as unique and iconic among Kratos' rogues gallery because he embraces a quality we never got to see with any of the other villains. And that's what he represents in the context of Ragnarok's story: a mirror. The very first time we see or hear of Thor's actions are when we take momentary boat rides with Mimir in God of War 4. The head depicts Thor in a very interesting way. He talks about his egotism, strengths, and how afraid the realms are of his presence. However, his role shines through in more ways than dialogue. We're shown the rotting corpses of his victims, misguided children reflecting his parenting, and statues presenting a larger-than-life being with his signature weapon Mjolnir. This decision was so genius because it allows us to paint Thor in a very specific picture. We're given all the pieces of his character to deduce everything about his personality, motivations, and his selfishness. However, what if all of this was entirely deceptive? What if this impression of Thor was manipulated by his own father to create an image that's entirely unfaithful and inaccurate to the loving father and husband that cowers behind the hammer? What if Thor was an influence victim in a tale of manipulation and abuse? This perception of Thor was so enforced in the game's narrative, even his endgame appearance is a direct adaptation of what Mimir's stories depicted. In God of War Ragnarok, Thor is everything Mimir had described, an intimidating, strong warrior who wields Mjolnir with strength and dexterity. However, something feels off about this encounter. Thor's appearance doesn't match the inch-shaped statues scattered across the realms. His demeanor is calm and calculated, but he also seems to be distressed, and almost depressed. Some may make excuses for this by saying the statues depicted Thor in his prime, or he's only upset because we murdered his family. However, there's something more going on here beyond these superficial observations. Thor in this scene is depressed, he's tired, drowning away his sorrows in mead and patiently anticipating the moment to release all of his anger and pain on the man who took so much from him. However, before Kratos, Thor's suffering had been constant and consistently degrading. He spent his life trying to live up to his father's image, inherited over 300 years of PTSD, and constantly lets his family down with his alcoholism and lack of self-worth. In the iconic battle with Thor, we see his strength in battle, how ruthless, cold, and aggressive the God of Thunder is in combat, because Thor so desperately wants to see why Kratos is so feared. He needs to see what true power is, the level of strength that rewards respect, and pride from both his family and himself.
You should be better than this! Let me see the monster inside! I could give a hot shit about your fatherly advice. I want to see the God of War!
For a large chunk of this game, we don't see Thor as he takes the role of a secondary antagonist, which is for a very good reason. I see a lot of people complain about this and say that they're disappointed with Thor's role in this story, or that he's too absent in the narrative, which is honestly kind of the point. His battle with Kratos was the tipping point for Thor. After being defeated in combat without his signature weapons, he resides back to the old tavern, and drowns away his sorrows in pity and mead. The reason I love this so much is because no other villain hides from Kratos and actively ignores his presence. Every other villain in this series actively pursues Kratos for a challenge, or attempts to manipulate him or screw around with him in some way. However, Thor is constantly trying to conquer his own internal wars and remain his title of a god, while carrying the traits of man. Because for his entire life, his definition of godhood has been nothing but superficial and blurred. Odin convinced him godhood is a lifetime of selfishness, power, and royalty. However, his daily responsibilities and desires contradict this reputation he's been cursed with, which is where I believe his depression stems from, because his family, both alive and dead, bring out the humanity in Thor, which brings him shame and an ambiguous purpose. Throughout the rest of the game, we see Atreus build a strong and loving relationship with the god of thunder. They laugh, play off each other's strengths and weaknesses, and even share a few moments of deep bonding and development. It's where we see Thor the most comfortable and happiest, because he's finally allowed to embrace his humanity and show someone who the statue really is, who the destroyer really is, which is unfortunately all cut short in a moment of betrayal and manipulation. I personally believe this moment truly was the breaking point for Thor, because for once in countless years he finally met someone who wasn't afraid and didn't buy into the lie of what the stories depicted. But it ends in just that, with his hammer raised high and mighty, which would have most definitely killed Atreus if he wasn't prepared. For the rest of the third act, as tensions rise and the stakes grow unbearably desperate, Thor's presence dwindles and appears almost absent. However, in the Battle of Ragnarok, he will make his most significant and profound appearance yet. In a surge of rage, Thor aggressively strikes Kratos in fear of his daughter's danger, which leads to a fight which is so undeniably pointless and devoid of purpose. Before I mention that Thor is a mirror, a reflection that reveals the past and its horrifying events, and a reflection that reveals the future and the salvation that's possible, Thor stares into the eyes of Kratos with his hammer held high above his head and says,
"You know what I've done?" "Yes!" "We don't change. Destroy us."
In this moment, the god of thunder's perception is entirely shattered as Kratos stares into the reflection that stands in front of him. He sees the pain in his eyes, destruction in his soul, and the humanity that's begging to be set free. He sees an opportunity to free a man from the burden of despair and redefine his definition of godhood in just 2 words.
No more. For the sake of our children, we must be better.
These 2 words will realize the perception of godhood and that purpose lies in growth, not destruction. Being respected as a leader, not feared as a villain. The tragedy of Thor's story is that when life is finally granted meaning and purpose, it's unfortunately stripped away. Thor is executed by Odin and denied the opportunity for redemption because tools are not allowed such luxuries, which leads to a distraught Thrud crying out in pain over losing her father figure to a mad king deprived of the knowledge and wisdom that creates true gods. The reason Thor is the best God of War villain is because it's the only time in the series we see a character that perfectly mirrors Kratos' old traits, and delivers the perspective of a destroyer through someone who's experienced that fate. He's the only villain in this series who perfectly captures the feeling of hopelessness and despair in a way we can see resorted. He's a character I wish we got more of, however his lack of screen time makes his journey and overall destination more impactful and memorable. Thor is a great exploration of how perception destroys your mind and how something as simple as 2 words can completely change the way you define your own purpose and embrace your humanity. Hey guys, it's me. I just wanted to thank you guys for 2,000 subscribers. Like, holy shit, I was never expecting that. I thought I'd be at 500 subs by the end of this year, and I've quadrupled that, and who knows, we might even get further, so thank you for all the support, I really appreciate it. Anyway, I don't want to waste any more of your time. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for watching the video, and next week I'll have a fucking weird video idea that I hope you guys will jive with. Take care, guys, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.